I have been slacking. My apologies. I said that I was going to post every day some sort of, just heart based, vulnerable content, and I have been slacking. But I'm enjoying my life. I was, just enjoying quality time with my love during our anniversary, enjoying the New Year's with some friends, and letting this be a time of reflection and slowing down. And, I'm very much in a place of like, yeah, it's a new year. Let's work for our goals, and that's exciting. But also, it's fucking cold outside, and half the time you can't even see the sun. And today is a beautiful day. Today is one of those days that I've got some more energy, and um, I'm feeling good. But there have been plenty of days recently where I'm like, fuck it, I'm chilling. I'm not trying to do all this stuff right now. And when I reflected on the year, I saw like, holy shit, yeah, July, like that middle of summer, was the time where I was the highest vibration and I had energy to do all the things. I was working with 9 clients one on one. I was doing speaking with 4 different high schools every single day of the week or 4 days out of the week. Um, I was ripping and running, and I had the energy to do so. And now getting into this new year, this is the first time it's really landing with me of like, damn, yeah, they fucked this up. Like this should not be the new year. Like this is a time of chilling out, reflecting, hibernating. So I'm giving myself the grace to not be in that like super active go-getter mindset right now. But what's been going on? I guess a part of me wants to talk about my journey with this debt discharge thing because I feel like that it was it was interesting getting into this space because as you may know if you've been following me, grew up with a single mother. She was very transparent about her money stress. I got into financial services because I was very excited to one, be an entrepreneur, be my own boss, make my own schedule, and build a business that was around relationships. It was very much in alignment with my skills and abilities and who I saw myself at the time. So started with Forces Financial. They were slinging variable universal life contracts to teachers and doing a bunch of unsuitable shit. And even when I called them out for it, they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't be worried about, just do what's in the best interest of yourself, not your client." So had to dip out of there. Went to New York Life. That was great, but I had a mentor give me a book called Killing Sacred Cows by Garrett Gunderson, and he was only focused on the fact that Garrett was talking about how great whole life insurance is, which is good for us because we sell whole life insurance. But it seems like he wasn't focused or just completely, I don't know, brushed or breezed by the other 12 chapters that talked about how shitty the work we're doing is and how we're actually disempowering people by getting them to invest in 401ks and locking their money up in financial jail for 30 or 40 years and, putting their money in a space where they can't touch it until they're 60, but the financial institutions are keeping that money in motion, taking advantage of the velocity of money. So once I saw all the myths, all the sacred cows that we are told to tout in the financial services industry, it really woke me up to the truth that the financial services industry is just a pipeline from public school to college to, people work for corporations and they work with these financial advisors who tell them, yeah, just throw all your money in the stock market and wait 30, 40 years for compound interest to kick in. Yeah, hoard your money in this one account that you can't touch without penalties and taxes until you're 60 years old. And you could put some money on the Roth side to save some money on taxes, but either way, you're funding genocide, war. Either way, there's no way of getting out of funding all this negative shit through taxes. The 2 things that are guaranteed in life: death and taxes. This is what we're told to tell people. Taxes, you can't get out of them. You just got to do your best to, you're either going to pay them now and not pay them in the future, or you're going to not pay them now and pay them in the future. Tax deferred versus tax advantage or tax free. You got to choose one. So let me help you pay them now so that you don't have to pay a lot in the future, which I still like that concept. I'd rather get taxed on the seed so that when I plant that seed and it turns into a crop, you ain't touching my crop. Doesn't make sense to plant the tiny seed and not get taxed on that just so that it turns into a massive crop and you get taxed on the massive crop. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, I moved on from New York Life because I realized that I wasn't going to be the type of resource that I wanted to be to people, because just being a wealth manager isn't what lit my soul on fire getting into this business. Being a resource to help people go from lack to abundance financially is what really excited me. And I didn't want to give up on that. So I started the coaching because I realized I could give people all the game on how wealthy people manage their money, but if they're not in a mindset of abundance, none of that information is going to add any value to them. They won't be able to embody it. They won't be able to take action with it. So I left New York Life to start my own coaching business. And I worked as an assistant to some financial advisors for some time, and then there was some weird situation where that fell through because of, some lady signing some documents on behalf of her mother, and because I was the person who submitted that document, I became the scapegoat in that scenario, and they let me go because of that. On this journey of realizing, okay, the financial services industry is not going to be there. It's not what I thought it was, right? I thought that the financial services industry was going to help me to empower, to educate, and to help my people become truly financially literate so that we could have more seats at the table, more influence, and more, control, right? More influence. We could have the ability to create true lasting change and equality in this country and in this world. And that's what kept me going, this idea that I get to create generational wealth in my family and help close the racial wealth gap by helping others do the same. But realizing the industry is not set up to empower people, it's set up to just keep people stuck in the rat race, I knew I couldn't do that, because I was telling people, yeah, fund this 401k and put your money in these financial vehicles and passively invest your money. But that's not what I was doing, right? I wasn't passively investing my money. I was building passive streams of income, because us as financial advisors, we understand income is king. Cash flow is king. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It only matters how much income is that money going to generate for you, right? We would always talk to people like, hey, would you rather have $1 million in retirement that you had to make that $1 million last for the next 30 or 40 years? Or would you rather just have a pension that's going to pay you $5K every single month, no matter what, until the day you die? You don't have to worry about the market or making that $1 million last. You just got $5K hitting the bank account every single month, guaranteed, no matter what. Which one would you choose? And if you actually do the math and you see what you would have to do to manage that $1 million and how to make sure that it could last you a full retirement, you realize, I'd actually take the pension. I'll take the guaranteed cash flow instead of just a big bucket of cash, because most people don't know what to do with it or how to manage it the right way. So anyway, I did a speech for Brittany Noel's group, The Daily Fix, and I was just talking about what I'm passionate about, the intersection between spirituality and money. I dove into quantum physics and quantum entanglement and how we're all one because we're made with atoms, and atoms are 99.999% empty space, but the space isn't empty, it's pure energy. I got deep into, the killing sacred cows, the myths that we are told are the truth around financial planning. And someone said, you remind me a lot of a guy named Jay Griff. He has the Conscious Wealth podcast. And I was like, oh shit, that sounds exactly like me. Conscious wealth. Yeah, I'm all about building wealth from a conscious place, not just throwing money at these, companies that are destroying the world and doing all this shiesty shit. We want to build wealth consciously in alignment with our values, in full integrity. They told me to go look into, or they told me that I reminded them of Jay Griff. So I looked into Jay Griff. I looked at his podcast. He did a podcast with Aaron Abke, and they went into the revealing the financial matrix. So that kind of woke me up a little bit to this stuff. And Jay Griff mentioned the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. So I finally purchased it. 600-page history of the Federal Reserve. I actually got it right here. Big ass, thick history of the Federal Reserve, and when I tell you, you can see I went in. Every page has some highlights. I read this book 3 times. The first time just flew through it. The second time I'm highlighting things, and then the third time I'm actually looking up each of the references and seeing, oh shit, He's not just talking out of his ass. The references are real. They actually did write memoirs and talk about how they had this secret meeting on Jekyll Island to draft the Federal Reserve Act. And then, they actually played reverse psychology on the public and made the public believe it was bad for the bankers when it was actually great for the bankers. The best thing ever for the bankers. Central banking, giving them ultimate control. I came out of that book screaming, "You will not make me your slave. I will not be your slave." I was so angry because I saw every single war, all the death and destruction was caused by a small group of individuals, of international bankers who want to have ultimate control, and they realize that when they can steal true value from people, when they can literally confiscate people's gold and say, no, you can't use true value as currency, you can't use real money that has intrinsic value as currency. No, you got to use these Federal Reserve notes that don't have any value, that we actually just print, not out of nothing, we actually print them out of less than nothing. We print them out of debt. Every one of these pieces of paper, it comes into existence from debt. And it is a note, not real money. Constitution straight up says, no state shall allow anything but gold or silver coin to be a tender in payment of debts. So then you look at, the Black's Law Dictionary, and it says right there, money does not embrace notes. The definition of money does not embrace notes or evidences of debt. What's a Federal Reserve note? An evidence of debt. It's not real money. It's fake. It's fiat. By government decree. We only use it because the government says you must use this as legal tender. People who understand what happened, people who understand that true value has been stolen from us, and how the only way that we are subject to the use of Federal Reserve notes is through our consent. And one of the ways that we consent to using these things is by considering ourselves to be a citizen of the United States. And then when you start to look into the 14th Amendment and you start to see, holy shit, the 14th Amendment itself is a contract. The 14th Amendment, there's this saying that the 13th Amendment freed the slaves, and the 14th Amendment made us all slaves, because it says right there, a U.S. citizen is a subject. They are straight up saying, if you are a citizen of the United States, you are a subject. And then you go deeper and you see, oh, there's the United States of America, and then little u for United, and then there's the United States, capital U. Those are two different things. The United States in capital U, that's a title, that's a corporation. The United States is a corporation. The United small u States of America, which is just a bunch of states, sovereign, states that are their own entities, they just happen to be united, right? Whereas the United States, uppercase U, that's an actual corporation with a Dun & Bradstreet number and everything. When you realize that there's been a corporate overlay to the organic republic that was created. There's the republic, right? The United States of America. It was never a democracy. The founding fathers actually hated democracy because they knew democracy was just tyranny of the masses. Democracy is mob rule. Whoever is the authority, whoever is the majority, they just shit all over the minority. And that's tyranny of the masses. And it always divulges into tyranny if you actually look at economic history or just history of societies. It was a constitutional republic. And then you had, the Republic of Texas. You had state, so I gotta remember how it is. It's the state of versus state. Texas state versus state of Texas. So I'm trying to remember which one it is, but those are two very different things. Okay? State of Texas, that's the republic. Texas state, that's the corporate overlay. Okay? I might have that wrong, so don't quote me on that, but there is I know every single state and the United States of America as a whole, there's the constitutional republic, the original constitutional republic, and then you have a corporate overlay on top of that. It even, goes as deep as the abbreviations, different type of abbreviations, right? Not going to get into all that. What I'm saying all this to say, when I had that massive red pill of learning the deep corruption and just insane amounts of deception that has occurred to program our minds to believe certain things about this country that we live in and this world that we live in, when I took that massive red pill and had this awakening, I went through that time frame of like, I need to make sure everybody knows this. And really it was this anger too. It was this anger. Like, I even, look back at these old comments that I posted, and I'm like, these freaking sheep, we're all sheep, we're all programmed, just this anger. And that I look back and I'm like, bro, like 2 months ago, you knew nothing about this, and you're out here calling people sheep? Like, who the fuck are you? You didn't know anything about this. You're just angry at yourself. Right? And you're projecting that anger outward. And even when I would start these conversations or start these presentations with this concept of, hey, listen, don't let this information get you back into victim consciousness. Don't let this information turn you into an angry activist. I was aware of it even when I first started. And I remember saying, oh God, thank you, Lord, that I read Conversations with God before getting into this. Thank you, Lord, that I read The Science of Success and Think and Grow Rich and The Untethered Soul. Thank you, Lord, I have this spiritual foundation before getting into this sovereignty information, because now, especially now, seeing that even me, someone who is deep on the spiritual side, someone who is even warning others, hey, don't let this get you into victim consciousness, don't let this get you into angry activist energy. Even I fell into that energy. So now coming out of that, I'm seeing it even more so, where it's so fucking important for us to come to this information from a heart-centered place, because I keep seeing these people who are like deep into this stuff, and even people are like, listen, I've been doing this for 20 years. What they said, that's completely wrong. That's gonna get you fucked up. That's gonna get you in jail. Da 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 da. And I see people fighting, my information's better than your information. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're an idiot. Da, da, da. And they're fighting each other. When it's like, okay, now you can see this is obviously divulged into, you are caring about your ego. This has become about your fucking ego and its intellectual superiority. And someone who has a massive ego with massive intellectual superiority, I can only see that because I see, right? Me, right? I'm the one that also had that had that intellectual superiority, and I'm conscious of it. And because I'm conscious of it, I'm seeing it in a lot of others. I'm seeing these people not even debate or say having healthy debates, just going in on each other, calling each other retards and idiots and whatever, controlled opposition or whatever it is. And it's frustrating, because I'm like, man, if all these intelligent people were in their more intelligent heart than stuck in their head, watching these men that are so intellectually superior and stuck in their egos. I can, over the last year or so, I've like watched some of these men just divulge and go deeper into their egos and deeper into, the way they see things and not being open to anybody else's stuff. And it's just scary. I'm like, man, I'm glad I haven't gone that deep. Because shit, I got to this place of like, oh, maybe I have to leave Avery because she's not in this mindset and I need somebody with me. It's like, yo, that is dangerous. That is very dangerous to think that everybody around you needs to think the way you think. That is a extremely dangerous place to be. You get stuck in your own little box, in your own little world, thinking, oh, I know what's right and everybody else is wrong. And you turn, people turn being a conspiracy theorist into an identity, being a contrarian into an identity, and that's very fucking dangerous. So I'm very grateful to my wife for helping me to stay conscious of these things, stay conscious of my own intellectual superiority, and help me kind of lift myself up out of these rabbit holes that we're so easy to dive into, because as someone who grew up with a single mother who was so fucking intelligent and articulate and amazing, it's, for me, it didn't make sense to me why someone so smart was struggling financially. I was like, but when I read this book and subsequent readings, I finally realized why someone that intelligent and capable could be stuck and be in survival mode. And I realized that, oh, this was the plan. They want all of us in survival mode so that we don't have the empowerment necessary to recognize our connection with Source and recognize just how powerful we really are, just how powerful one person is. And when we as individuals realize how powerful we are as individuals, then when we get together as a collective, they have no chance. They have no chance, and they know that. So their number one thing, this is why I talk about this concept of being born in sin and how that is, ooh, that was smart. To get everybody believing they're born in sin and basically bad, I ain't got to do nothing else. Their own subconscious mind is going to do the rest of the work for me, attracting negativity into their life, sabotaging positivity. That's all I got to do is accept this idea that you're basically bad and God doesn't really love you unconditionally. You need to do XYZ or be XYZ in order for God to love you. Beautiful idea. Disgusting, but, great way to disempower the masses. So, what's the theme for today? The theme and my lesson and my message for today through this whole rant is heart-based consciousness is the key. I believe I could sit here and I could continue telling you guys about how the Federal Reserve is not really federal and doesn't really have any reserves. I could tell you about all the conspiracies behind 9/11 and World War I and World War II and Vietnam and the war on terror and the war on drugs and what's the CIA shit that they did, MK Ultra, and we can go down all the rabbit holes, but what is that going to do? How is that going to add value to your life? I was just watching somebody tell me, or he was doing a presentation about his experience litigating to, get his rent for free. He's talking about all this shit that he went through to get there, and at the end, I'm just like, bro, it doesn't sound like that added a lot of value to your life. It sounded like all that did was allow you to have a little bit of clout so you can get on social media and say, I won my case, or at least I didn't lose. We settled. And it's like, cool, but didn't you also lose your woman and your family in the process? Didn't your woman leave you in that process? I'm sorry. What value is this really adding to your life? I think about this whole, changing your status thing. Oh, you got to correct your status. What value is that adding to your life, right? Let's really get granular here and say, how is this going to help me protect my kids from being slaves to how is this actually going to help me protect myself and my kids from being a debt slave and funding genocide and all this negativity in the world through their taxes? That's all I care about. If I can not pay taxes and not pay the federal government any of my life force energy, not let them siphon my life force energy so they can fund their genocide and their, installing of central banking all over the world. If I can not fund that and I can be able to live the type of lifestyle that I want to live with and just be left alone, that's all I care about. As long as you're not forcing me to fund the bullshit you're doing over there and for compelling my performance in these different ways, I'm good. All this extra stuff, all this other stuff, a lot of it is just noise, a lot of it is just distraction, and a lot of it is just victim consciousness. So that is my message, y'all, is be careful going down the rabbit holes. Make sure you're doing so from a place of heart-based consciousness, Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, and be careful about letting it just drop you right back into fucking victim consciousness, because remember, the outer world is just a mirror for what's going on inside of you. And a lot of this stuff, if you're really awake to what's going on, just make sure that you're not just pointing it out there, but you're looking within and seeing where is it. That's the hardest fucking work. That's the hardest and most important part of this, is that the universe is only allowing you to see the negativity out there because you're ready to see the shadows and the negativity inside of you and to face off with those. And when you truly face off with those, you're gonna open up. Like, I was just speaking to a elder in my family. She kept saying, "Oh, it's this is happening and that's happening and this is happening and that's happening." Negative complaints, and then, but it's all well with my soul. It's all well with my soul. And she even was conscious of the fact that she kept coming back to that, and she kept telling me, I said, it's all well with my soul. I just have to keep saying that. I just have to keep coming back to that. And I didn't say that to her, hey, you're spiritual bypassing. Stop bypassing and actually go to the darkness and face off with it, right? But I did share with her, like, I heard a quote that bliss is any emotion felt all the way through. So I kept it real with her, like, listen, you are trying to, I used the term toxic positivity. I was like, toxic positivity is using positivity in order to shove the negativity down and not look at it. True, genuine positivity is when we realize we live in the world of the relative, where we couldn't understand hot without cold, tall without short, good without bad, positive without negative. We need the duality to experience anything. And the more we go into the negative and face off with it, the more it actually opens up our ability and potential and possibility to experience the positivity at an even higher level. It just, the more we go into the darkness, the more it opens up our ability to experience the light. And I needed to share that with her, because mind, body, and soul are one super system. And, we're trying to do these treatments and these things outside of us instead of removing the blockages inside of us. So I've been rapping for almost 30 minutes. I'm gonna end it here. I pray that you found some value in this rant, and I'm excited for the next message.